All right. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Welcome to the broadcast. My name is Eddie Wasserman. Call me a national expert, and this is National Master OK. We are going to start with our player profile of the week, which we'll bring up here. Hi, this is National Expert Eddie Wasserman with National Master OK here. We are starting our broadcast for the week. We're going to start off with an intro to Mr. Daryl Bimberg, who's going to be our featured player for this week. Daryl Bimberg is a improving player in the open section. He reached a peak rating of 1129 recently, and he played his first tournament in late 2023, where he was rated around 400, and now he was around 800 for a while. He's been getting coaching from Dane, and his rating has surged to around 300 points since then. Some of his best wins include Mitch Ross, Roger Hale, Scott Carpenter, Connor Chambers, Srijan, and Scott Gilbertson. When draw with Norman Myron as well. His tournaments he had a great tournament at St. Cloud as well, where he gained around 30 plus points. Just one tournament I wanted to highlight here was the March Thursday nighter, where he went from 1039 to 1124, which was very, very nice gain for him. And yeah, Daryl, great guy, and very easy to talk to. Like talking to him about his games, he's really eager to talk about his games and learn how to improve. And he's always happy to talk about chess. And I'm sure he's going to be at 1200, 1300 in no time. Yeah, and so moving to another point here, I just wanted to mention. So tomorrow is our tandem simul and training camp. Master Nubert. So this is going to start at 5 o'clock. The training camp is starting 5 o'clock tomorrow, and it's going to last until 8 p.m. And then the simul is going to be from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock p.m., which is going to feature International Master Nubert, a fellow commentator here, National Master Okechukwu, and also now National Master Jonathan Georgiou is going to be also participating in the simul, because we have so many registrants now. We have already 18 people registered the simul, and we only expected maybe 10 people or so to be in the training camp and simul. And it's been a great result so far. And yeah, it looks like what do we do here? Pawn structure, many openings. We're just looking through some of the points that he's going to go through in his training camp, which is about Carlsbad pawn structure, learning minority attack, learning strategic plans, learning how to place pieces, learning concepts for both colors, which might sound simple at first, but it's really not. It's a lot more it's a lot more difficult than it sounds when you actually look at how complex these positions can be. And yeah, so and some of the costs for the event: $25 for the simul only, $35 for the training camp only, $50 for the combined training camp and simul, and then $80 for the camp simul and also the Think event, which I'm going to get to. I just want to bring up some of the qualifications of our international master there, who's also done a lot of commentary for us. He's an IM with 3 GM norms, 2-time South Asian champion. Has been doing commentary for us quite a bit. He just played in the Chicago Open. Here, let me go to the Think event. And the weekend after the tandem simul and training camp. So Saturday, Sunday, we're going to have a Think event. The 7-rounder. It's a return. We haven't had one of these Thinks in a while. Around a year, we haven't had any Thinks. So we're going to finally have one of these again where International Master Nubert is going to be playing a match during the Think against our current state champion, a 3-time state champion, International Master Samrug Narayanan. It's going to be a 90 plus 30 rated, FIDE rated classical match. People are going to have a chance to meet the bear as well, talk to them in our Skittles area. Just some details about the tournament in general, like the Think tournament. So yeah, it's 7 rounds. It's game at 60 with a 15-second delay, not increment. 15 delay. So that means that after 5 minutes, you no longer have to notate. If you or your opponent are 5 minutes or under. You can take up to 2 half-point buys on this event. And yeah, we open at 9:30. So please try to register by then if you so choose to. I just want to go through some of the costs here. 2 days early, $40 for members, $50 for non-members. And now after that, it's $10 more, so it'll be $50 for members, $60 for non-members until the site opens, and then you have to pay $20 more. So $60 for members and $70 for non-members registering at site. So better to register in advance. Yeah, and I'll just reiterate one more time. It's $80 for the whole weekend. The camp, simul, and event altogether, it's an $80 package.
Nice.
Okay. Yep.
Cool.
Let's see.
All right.
And anything else to mention about this? I think that should be it.
Okay. All right. So, like, I guess we'll make our way to the games, and we'll probably start off with Daryl, our featured player, and see what he's up to in his game against Terry Humphreys. So it started off as if heading towards a college system, except for sort of doing a move order trick here. I think, let me see. Yeah, this is an interesting setup that White is playing. It's sound, and his opponent is playing King's Indian type. So now pawn takes pawn might be considered a little bit of a bother, just because unless he wants to give up a pawn now, Daryl has to relinquish the bishop pair. That might not be a huge issue, but Terry let him escape with his bishop, probably because he likes the position of his knight, nice and centralized. Except for that the knight isn't exactly stable on that square. It could eventually be pushed maybe by a pawn to f4, but pushing the pawn to f4 might create more problems than it solves. So for the moment, the knight is comfortable on e5. And now we have a break in the center with d5. And exchange off a bunch of pieces. And for the moment, it seems like Terry's pieces are a bit more active than Daryl's. But then all of a sudden, Daryl creates a threat, and a serious threat at that. Terry goes for a queen exchange, which might make life a bit difficult. It's not clear how to comfortably defend the c7 square now. Terry plays rook e7 to cover c7, but that allows Daryl to bring his rook to the back rank, pinning the bishop in the process. And here, Daryl played bishop d2. There might have been an argument in favor of e4.
Yeah.
So as to get that guy in. And also have a bit more of a footprint in the center. I think it's quicker and probably, and I suppose that even if the idea is to play bishop d2 and then go to b4, Black has a number of ways of preventing that plan. So yeah, so e4 might have been a bit of an improvement there. Although with knight c6 being available, now the rook has to retreat, and there's no pin anymore. So he does retreat, and then bishop e6 comes at tempo, so he's forced to escape from the d5 square, and all of a sudden, Terry's getting a number of threats on every move, which would be a good sign for him. Bishop c3 happens, and now there's doubling on the d file. But this game, it seems as if both players are trying to do their best to get their pieces into the game. At the moment, Terry's pieces seem better coordinated than Daryl's. In particular, the white rooks don't give a great impression at the moment, but it's definitely possible for white to, I guess right now, start looking for a way to get his pieces back in order. And that exchange helps because now the rook on g5 has more squares to try and escape. Because otherwise, if you go back a move or two before, in this position, the rook is pretty uncomfortable on g5, I think. And in fact, I wonder if bishop e7 right here would have caused some discomfort, forcing the rook back to g3. And then maybe bishop h4. And the rook is running out of squares. Maybe rook f3 is the only safe square for the moment. And then bishop g4. And that might be the win of an exchange. So maybe rook d8, while a good move overall, didn't take into consideration the safety or lack of safety of white's rook on g5. But okay. Fortunately for Daryl, he was able to convince Terry to exchange off pieces, now giving his rook more room to run. It's still not safe, but at least it's not in mortal danger. So Daryl attacks the b7 pawn with the idea that if the b7 pawn moves, then the a6 pawn is weak. And Terry responds with bishop d5, blocking the attack. Della responds with a counterattack against the rook on d8. And all of a sudden, things are getting a bit spicy. Pieces attacked and maybe not properly defended. And then Terry responds with a counterattack of his own on b6. So, what's going on here, Eddie? Do you think?
Yeah, no, it's getting very spicy. I think now. Okay, so just want to take another quick look at this position again. So, so black just played b6. Correct. It's white. It's white now. I mean,
Yeah.
the white rook itself doesn't have. I mean, that many squares left, but. I mean, I would think that moving the rook, you have to go at rook. I'm just checking, like, if you take on d5. So, rook takes d5.
Yes, rook takes
Rook takes
d5
rook
here.
d8.
So, and
Or even
then
d8, maybe.
bishop takes d8, and we have an equalish ending.
No.
Potentially. Well, if they have bishop of opposite colors, but they have rooks on board, and actually this would be an interesting position to look at, only because with the rooks on board, it's not drawn. Because the rooks go off. So if white were to play this, if they were interested in a draw, then this position would probably be drawing, right? But if white doesn't go for a rook exchange, then it seems like this can be pretty interesting. And in this position, theoretically, black might have the better chances, only because his pawn majority is further away from the kings. So yes, I think rook d5 makes some sense here. This also makes some sense. It's interesting to see, though, how this is going to play out. Does that boost the exchange?
So bishop takes f3. What if white just like moves his rook? Or
Yeah, I'm thinking white could actually capture on e6, maybe.
Yeah, taking a6.
Yes, which is what he does, because there's no place for the bishop to attack, do a desperado attack that the rook can either go to a7, so say bishop back, and then rook here, or bishop here, and then rook there, neither of which look healthy for black. So it might be that Terry lost his way a bit. Maybe he has something up his sleeve. Bishop takes g2. Okay, so it's confirmed that an exchange is being lost, and the question is how many pawns can he get for it. So at the moment, they have an equal number of pawns. How did that happen? Oh, the rook taking on a6. Okay, so now this is interesting. Would it have worked to take c7, do his own desperado? Somehow I think not, because maybe bishop takes, and then bishop b7, and then if you try this, now there. Yeah, so Daryl probably took the wiser choice by just recapturing. And now the key is getting your rooks as active as possible in these endgames. While also reducing your opponent's ability to wage effective warfare. So okay, so we're now at the current position, and yeah, it's definitely Daryl's in the driver's seat here, but it's not trivial.
No, I mean, yeah, it's definitely not trivial. I'm thinking like if White can get in, E4, F4, E5, then it'll be, very difficult for Black to have holding chances. But and
Yeah.
actually it'll come pretty soon because F4 is being held by the Rook right now. So if you play something like F4, it's also keep an eye on the G5 square, stopping G5. I mean, I can't play G5 really anyways, but just the idea to keep in mind, just prevent G5 forever.
Yeah.
Yeah, F4, E4, E5. Yeah, I'm not really sure what Black does against that.
Yeah, it doesn't seem clear that Black has an active way to play.
F5 maybe.
Yeah, maybe F5. In fact, if it is White's move here, I think I like your idea of F4. Maybe I'll put the Rook on E4 first. Then whatever Black does, say Black plays here, now play F4. And that way we don't have our Rook shunted off to into the boonies or whatever. And then yeah, after this, maybe exchange off one pair of rooks. So it's just so you now have Rook versus the bishop. And yeah, this seems very difficult. I remember this was coming back to talk about how one easy way to deal with exchange up endings is find a nice place to sacrifice back the exchange if you can get a pawn for it, right? And then you just have a king and pawn ending that's simply winning. But all right, we'll see how.
Yeah. I want to also bring up just one more thing before we move on to a different game. I think I forgot to do the Chicago results, so I want to do that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
kind of slipped my mind
Sure.
here. Just we want to just bring some attention to the people that played in the Chicago Open, which had many participants from Minnesota, like Chicago Open always does. I just wanted to highlight some of the people that scored greater than 50%, had great tournaments, winning results, and even winning some prize money. I just want to bring up this list here. So, in the Premier section, top result that we had was by our own state champion, international master, Samrug Narayanan, who scored 6.5 out of 9. Fantastic result. Picked up $1,240 in prize money. So, I mean, that was an excellent result by Samrug. I think he played like 4 GMs as well and drew 3 of them. Yeah, a few draws, 3 draws against the GMs.
Crazy.
We also had, and another amazing result was second best result by national master Andrew Titus with 5.5 out of 9, which pretty sure was enough for an IM norm for him. And he had an amazing tournament. He beat 25-85 FIDE Grandmaster Jian Chaozhu in the second round. I know he also beat another Grandmaster in the last round as well. He's beat a couple other 2,400 players, 2,400 FIDE players, I should mention.
Wow.
So he had a great tournament. I think his rating went from 2340 to 2370 something in USCF. So, yeah, definitely an excellent tournament by him. Would also like to mention a couple other positive results. Premier International Master Nubert, 5 out of 9 as well. Our commentator and will be participating in our Masters match. And also our honorary Minnesota player, Canada Master Joseph Wan.
Yes.
Also, I know he's not living in Minnesota, but he plays in enough Minnesota tournaments that we consider him a Minnesota player. So
yes, actually, it's actually crazy to say, but I think he he plays in more Minnesota tournaments than many of our Minnesota Masters do.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I can tell he loves chess.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, okay. And I also want to bring up some other results. I'm going to go through just section by section. In the under 2300, we had a great result by player that's playing in this tournament, National Master Kyler Weatherspoon, scored 5 out of 7 in the under 2300, getting $118.18 in prize money. Actually, until the last round, he was at 6 out of, he was at 5 out of 6, I should say, coming into the last round. And unfortunately, he did lose the last round, but I will say he was the only one to beat that, the guy that won first on tie breaks, the FIDE Master. So,
oh wow,
the FIDE Master that won first on tie breaks got 6 out of 7. He won every round except losing to Kyler. So, it was a great result by Kyler there.
nice.
And yeah, also we had the National Master Tim Roddermacher also played. He scored 4 out of 7 as well in the under 2300 section. Let's see, scroll down here, and then we had the under 2100 section. There's one notable result there. Our own Mr. Bill Murray, national expert, scored a 4 out of 7. He especially had a very good start to the tournament. He was always in the top boards, playing in the top few boards for at least the first 5 rounds or so.
Nice.
And I want to also bring up our biggest money winner on the under 1900 section. I don't know when was the last time you saw this player. I haven't seen him in a while either. He plays in TCCL as a sub. He doesn't really play in any tournaments anymore. He'll stop by once every couple of years. It's Matthew Krusak. He's maybe you don't know. I don't know if you've ever played him. He's around when I played him, he was usually between 18 and 1900. Sometimes 1950. So
Okay.
he played in the under 1900 and scored 6 out of 7 and picked up $1,500 in the process. So
Nice.
yep, our biggest prize winner that I see here. And
Wow.
yeah, and
His
the
last
under,
name is Krusak?
yeah,
I don't know when did he last play? Must have been years ago.
I think he played last year in an action quad. I played him.
Oh, okay.
Well, as far as I remember, Matt Krusak, he was a big action quad guy. And
Oh, okay.
all of my games against him were in action quads.
Oh, makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So sounds like we did pretty good this year.
Just have a couple more. I'll also bring up, he's a big French aficionado. So all of our games that I was white, it was in some widower. And they were all very, very exciting games with Mr. Matt Krusak. He always played exciting chess. Also, on the under 1500 section and the under 1000, we also had a couple notable results that were over 50%. We had on the under 1500, we had Ksenia Matas with 5 out of 7 in the under 1500, picking up $92.31.
Nice.
Very nice, yes. And another big prize winner in the under 1000, we had Tanush Varshni from Minnesota. I recognize him. He played in the Scholastic Grand Prix that I helped back in the day. And he scored 5.5 out of 7 in the under 1000 and picked up $700.
Oh,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So
I know it almost makes me want to go back and play Chicago. It's been exactly 10 years since I was there.
Oh wow. Yeah, I haven't. I didn't play this year, and I was going to look back to see how many of them I've missed in the last 20 odd years. Because I think, in fact, my first Chicago Open was also the first time I played against Mr. Bill. Um, at the time, I was living on the East Coast, so I wasn't a Minnesota player then. And yeah, I had a interesting game with him. And even then, I had to deal with some of his tactical trickiness. So
Yes, Mr. Bill, very, very tricky, very unpleasant to play against him, especially from the black side. For playing for a
you're
win,
solid.
it's really tough. Yeah, he's hard to crack.
Yes. Yeah. Well, cool. Thanks, Eddie, for that. I'm feeling good. You know, it used to be one of our the pseudo traditions up north here that if Bucky Bus would go down to the cities or to Chicago or wherever, our goal was to try and make an, a net positive on ratings. So if we can steal enough rating points from outside to bring back home to our pool, the tournament has been a success. And it sounds like Minnesota managed to do that this year. So, all right. Well, let's see. Let's take a look. We have some games that are done already. Maybe we'll take a look at Roger Hale, the legend, against Mitch Ross and see how that game went. So we have a Scandinavian.
Oh, yes.
Played with Queen D6, which is I guess, in some ways, the most Sicilian type Scandinavian, in a way. In terms of spirit, not in terms of actual position.
Yeah.
So here, there.
No. Yeah. So this is critical position, I think.
Yeah, it seems as if this loses. Yeah, it seemed as if it was going to cause some pain somehow. And Roger was really quick to take advantage of the lapse. So it's always dangerous leaving the queen on an X-ray where the X-raying piece is defended. And so knowing that or seeing that, Mitch probably had to try and bail out. I don't know, maybe with queen b4 or something, just to get away from that line. Queen e7 would work from that point of view as well, but would be very rude to this guy. So, I think Queen b4 had to be played. I suppose there's also the possibility of playing. No, this doesn't work. Knight. So sometimes we'd like to answer an attack with a counterattack, and maybe we counterattack against the bishop that's causing a problem. With say knight h5. Unfortunately, because this is a double attack, it's still not working well for black there. So after this, so now he's won a rook and a pawn, and now Roger's able to get his knight out of the stall, and yeah, now I think Mitch has no compensation at all. He'll be able to exchange off the knight if he had wanted to with knight d6, but this is fine as well. And now it's about Roger bringing home the bacon, I suppose. Let's see how he succeeded in reeling in the point. c3, playing safe. He wants to probably get his queen out of the way of the pin, which is what happens. And now Roger is also threatening queen f5. So capture with the knight seems correct. Rather than creating a target for black that he'll have to babysit by capturing with the pawn, like so. And then he has to worry about that pawn. He captures with the knight, which also activates the knight. So that's good. Queen check. And then bringing his remaining forces into the game so that it seems like we're getting close to the point where we can borrow from Star Trek and claim that resistance is futile. And after that, I think there's no question, although maybe there hasn't been a question for a while. And yeah, Roger definitely took good advantage of the opportunity he was given. And I suspect Mitch just decided to get it over by allowing checkmate in one. So that was a nice game by Roger.
Yes, I mean that's always nice. See Roger do well.
Yes.
And I think it's not the first game that he won in this tournament either.
For some reason, I don't know. I haven't seen. He doesn't play on most Thursdays, right, Roger?
He does. He just doesn't play in DGT usually.
Okay. Got it. Okay. So then let's take a look at Eric Galan versus John Baker.
Eric Galan, another very solid player.
Yes.
Him, English. I'm sure
And
John
we've
this.
Huh?
So I think John is happy to go into this because he's a Tarrasch player anyways with the black pieces. At least I've seen him play the Tarrasch quite a bit.
And they've transposed basically into a Tarrasch right now. So
yeah,
so he's now back into his normal repertoire then. Okay, that's an interesting approach. H3. Preparing for bishop e3 so that the bishop doesn't get harassed by knight g4. And so this approach with c4 is double-edged. And maybe it makes a bit more sense with the bishop on e3 since it might take a bit longer to get e4 in. However, I think, well, this works as well, knight e5, with the idea that if black were to take the exchange, this bears all kinds of pressure on the d5 pawn. The other approach, which I think is probably not as strong as knight e5, would be to try to immediately undermine the pawn structure with b3. But I think knight e5 is probably more to the point. So after knight e5, obviously black can't capture on e5, which means that white is able to get his post up and have it too, and also means that it might be a bit difficult for black to get his pawns moving on the queen side. Bishop f5 had its own risks to it, and this is one of them, allowing white to gain space on the king side. And of course, the question will become, is white gaining space he can hold, or is he just weakening his king side? And we'll have to find out.
Yeah.
So, now, Eddie, do you play either side of the Tarrasch?
I played against the Tarrasch as white. I've had the It's funny because I think I've had the Tarrasch as black, more times, but with the white side, like the white set up, but with the black pieces.
Okay, okay.
More
So like
times
a
than
Tarraf
having white
reverse.
pieces, and I get that a lot from playing because I play the Caro quite a bit, and
Uh-huh.
against the Pen of Botvinnik, I like to play an early G6, and a lot
Okay,
of times it
okay.
transposes into like a reverse Tarrasch. So I've
Huh.
had quite a bit of experience in Tarrasch positions, but the same setup, but with black. And yeah, this
Yes.
Bishop E3 94, or sorry, Bishop E3 Knight 95
Yeah.
idea after C4. Yeah, it's something I played. I played sometimes before. I don't really play that much anymore, but usually C4 is only played after like you commit a bishop to E3 or E6. If you're
Mm-hmm.
like when I played it, it was always bishop E6, C5. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, otherwise C4 just doesn't make any sense. If your bishop is not, if like you're on F4 or G5,
And that's
but
because of a quick E4 response, maybe? Or
E4 is another idea. 95 is 95 is a strong reply.
it's just
Yeah,
strong, yeah.
yeah, I don't. It's not very comfortable to meet, especially like if you take on C6 and then often reroute the bishop to F4 and then play E4. It's kind of uncomfortable because if you take the pawn on E4, then you have these ugly double pawns in the C file. And if
Mm-hmm.
you don't, then you can take in D5, and now the D5 pawn is even more of a weakness. And then uh, you've
Yeah, this
exchanged.
position is looking very
Yeah. So this
yeah,
happened again? Okay.
this happened in the game, and uh I can't believe that black is enjoying this position. I mean, I suppose the C pawn, the forward C pawn is going on the next move, probably after queen C2 and then rook FC1 or something. Let's see how this works. Okay, uses the other rook.
I agree. I think that the pawn structure far, outweighs the negatives of getting rid of your fianchetto bishop. I think that this
Yes.
pawn structure is definitely in White's favor, regardless of his kingside weaknesses.
And I think one key is that black isn't in a position to take advantage of the kingside weaknesses. He doesn't have a light square bishop, and his pieces aren't really set up to crack open. Now, after having said that, I suppose White does need to at least give some thoughts to how he's going to respond to F5 in this position. Oh, which happens on the next move. So let's see how this works. I suppose you can solve that problem by just exchanging up the queens. And then hoping that... How is this working, though? So if black plays rook takes, if it played takes first, is that an improvement?
Let's
It's not clear that rook takes b2 is an improvement. It feels like it. It feels like getting there first makes a difference, but after rook a4, yeah, it seems like black is doing a bit worse here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so capture. Oh, that's interesting. with tempo.
I think that works. Yeah.
And so he's going to try and get the pawn back with bishop d4, I suppose. Except for that bishop. Oh, well, bishop d4 is working, isn't it? It is working, it looks like.
D6.
Rook where?
Or I thought bishop D6.
Oh, bishop d6. Well, the rook on a7 is hanging.
Oh, right. Oh.
Yeah, the rook on a7 is hanging. But after this, so this is an interesting position has appeared on the board all of a sudden. And I don't know whether he could have left, if he could have played c5 here. No, that would probably be bad. So maybe play rook takes a. Oh, but if he plays rook takes a2 now, bishop d6 is now working.
Yeah. After c5, maybe even rook d6 or bishop d6 is probably good too.
Yes.
C5. So
it seems as if bishop f6 might be the best option, and then they just exchange off pawns. So now we have another interesting position. All the pawns are on the same side of the board, but black's pawns are a little bit further from their supporters. Well, black's e4 pawn specifically is a bit further, so maybe that makes it a little bit more vulnerable.
actually, oh, okay.
That solves that problem.
I was about to say it's difficult to actually attack that e4 pawn, but I mean that works too.
So, oh man, yeah, because I was actually thinking, oh, is rook c4 working? But then the rook comes to e6 to e8. But now with the rook still on c6, this is working. So yeah, now black is in. Oh no, I don't know if that's correct. Maybe black should not be exchanging off rooks in this position just to improve the chance of keeping things complicated. Whoa, Nelly. So even if this were not a tactical blunder, I think in general black shouldn't be trying to exchange off rooks. But it just so happens that it's not even succeeding in exchanging off a rook. It's just giving up a piece. So Eric is a very solid player, and in my mental Rolodex of Minnesota players, he's the gentleman most likely to draw first, win later in my head. But if you put your head in his grasp, you're done for. This is pretty harsh. So, all right. Let's see what happens here.
He's a tactically aware player, though, I'll say.
Yes. Oh, for sure. Yeah. Which is what I was getting at, is if he seems peace loving, but if you make the mistake of leaving a tactic, he'll punish you. All right, we'll go to see what happened between Robert Donahue and Jason Wagner.
Oh, yes. Looking forward to this one.
Yes, this is
interesting. I don't think I've ever seen this before.
I don't know that. I don't know that I've seen that move.
Some kind of new theory, maybe. I don't know.
Yes, in fact, I'm gonna check the master database here to see exactly where it places in the pantheon of moves. And
Yeah.
it seems as if no game in the master database has reached e5 in this specific move order. And when you put e5 on the board, there are actually two games that featured this position. One between Christopher Yu playing Abdusattorov, and the other was Grigor Sakyan versus Kryavkin. So strong players. I suspect they came into the position through some other weird move order, though.
I can probably
huh? But
C6, E4, C5, E5.
Yeah. That makes sense.
That's the only other possible move order. I don't know how else
Yes.
I could actually get here. But yeah, E5 is close to being a novelty.
Yes. I mean, I suppose I can't see how he's going to make it work, but okay, so now we're this can come from a Scandinavian now, right? If we use this move order.
Yes.
So we're not completely in unknown territory at this moment.
Okay.
I guess this is the difference from the Scandinavian move order is that en passant isn't a possibility in that position. Oh, wow. Okay, Jason is grabbing the center. Bishop b5 happens. It would seem to me, at least at the moment, that Jason's not doing too poorly, at least structurally.
No. A4. You gotta have your A4 with Robert's games usually.
Yes. What does that to do with a sneaky A6 B5, right?
Yeah, I mean, I like Black's position here. I think Black should be happy with his opening so far.
Yeah, I think Black has definitely the greater potential in this position, it seems like to me. Knight G5. Okay. So what blitzkrieg is Robert planning here?
He just wants to go Knight G4 or something. I don't know.
Oh, maybe he's trying to get to E4 tonight?
Yeah, probably the Knight G4.
Okay. Which, if that were the case, so I don't even know that he needs to take the bait, Jason. I think you can guess castle and you should be fine, but maybe we're missing something. But Bishop G4, so he's trying to mix it up and allows this doubling of the pawn.
Okay.
And then Knight E2. So Black still seems to be doing quite nice here, relatively speaking. And he chases the knight away, and the knight has. How is this? Okay, I'm just curious, just because we know what the result of this game is, how that result was achieved. So Queen D7. Black decides not to take on H3 immediately. And now he can't double the pawns.
Rook A3.
Because of Rook A3. Which, of course, he planned from the moment he played A4, right?
So, I mean, Rook A3, it's a multi-purpose move. I mean, you're, defending against the doubling pawns on the H file. You're preparing to maybe bring the rook to D3 or E3.
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Rook.
keep the black king in the center and just try to force your way in. Just trying to make the move rook a3 make some sense. I think.
Yes. No. I think it's very functional, the move. It's just one of those things that you don't expect to see at this stage in the game.
Right. But Robert is a very unconventional player, so I think moves like rook a3 are kind of standard in his games. He likes to play very unconventional, very creative stuff like this, and rook
Yes.
lifts, and sometimes it works. It looks like it worked in this game. So
Well,
yeah.
that's why he's one of the fan favorites. I mean, in this position, I don't know. It seems like after knight f4, knight f4, the other knight on h3.
I don't know. Let's see.
So let's see what happens here. This seems.
Yeah, c4 looks very anti-positional.
Yes, to put it mildly. And so knight b4 is played.
So
the position just seems almost sad.
no.
If white ever plays f3, the bishop takes h3 is happening, and the knight on h3 doesn't have a safe square to go at the moment. All right, so rook e3. Castle out of danger. Castle out of danger. f5. And now that rook on e3 is going to be feeling kind of sad.
Yeah, 4 might have been necessary here.
Huh. Crazy. Yeah, I suppose because f3 allows bishop takes h3. So he plays f4, but now the rook is almost as bad as the knight was on h3. Let's see. So rook, queen e1. What?
That blunders in exchange. Yeah.
Which Jason quickly takes. So.
But knowing Robert, maybe it was a clever exchange sacrifice that he planned for, because he doesn't really care about material as long as he was just probably thinking, well, this rook on e3 was basically useless. Might as well just trade it off for this knight on b4. That was a hassle.
Exactly.
That rook on e3 would have been better placed in a1. I mean,
yes.
So.
Yes, quite right. So, and now we have. So I used to take. Well, I should say used to. I still take pride in my extreme skill at misplacing pieces, but this is. I'm not sure. I mean, the knight on h3 actually has better chances if it's not ripped off right now of getting into the game with knight f2, and I can understand the reticence to playing bishop h3 just because, well, you feel you've got the advantage, and why allow Robert to enjoy a half-open g file, especially with his reputation for fierce attacking play. So rook b4, and this is the problem, or a problem, is that, okay, so you don't capture on h3, but now the bishop's position on g4 is all of a sudden a bit suspect.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have a good retreat. So going back, it seems as if maybe this is the time to just take a bite of the lemon, move your king to maybe Jason moves his king to the h file somewhere, and then takes advantage of the g5 himself. So maybe even something like so. And then g5, oh, rook g1, rook g8, g5, and then he's the one playing on the g file early. But at this point, it seems Robert has a little something. What? Oh no! Is this going to work? So he's playing a double knight f6 to take advantage of the queen, hanging on d7. So let's see, what's the time situation? So they both have plenty of time. So it's not working, it doesn't seem like. Jason didn't fall for any craziness there.
Yeah.
So at this point, Jason is up an exchange still, right? And he has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Yeah, Jason
So
has a
have
good
six.
position. I would definitely take black here if I had the choice.
Yes, for sure.
Okay, now, well, at least
All right.
he can play bishop f8 or something and say, well, can pretend to have an attack.
Oh no. So wait, maybe there's something here though. But no, it doesn't seem as if there's anything. Just bishop f8.
Yeah.
So bishop e5, I suppose with the idea of keeping the bishop active, but that allows black to play d4.
That allows white to sack more pawns.
Yes. No, this is this is actually an interesting moment. So he captures that way, which okay, that seems to make some sense. And then queen g4. So and this is where it gets really tricky. You don't want to be falling for crazy tactics. And already the bishop would have been doing better on f8. And if he plays h5 now, there's at least he's getting the exchange back with knight h6, I suppose. So he plays d2, which looks like also a decent, well, it's giving back the exchange, but at least his king doesn't get mated immediately. But there is still the problem of the exchange win after knight h6. So let's see how this works out. Queen takes, queen there. So we're now material close to even, it looks like.
Yeah, just looking at it, it looks like black has a good position still. I mean, just the pieces are so well placed, I think, for initiative on the king side. Even eventually you're gonna play queen g6, get
What did he
bishop
do
h.
that for? Oh, he must have missed queen h3.
Bishop h. I don't know what that does. Queen
It
h5.
seems like he's
Yeah.
like I think he's intending queen h5 and he maybe missed queen h3 there.
Okay. Yeah, bishop h2 I think is unnecessary. Yeah, must have missed.
Oh no! So I guess that's how he lost. So yeah, because I was trying to see if queen g6 was working here. Was what I was looking at, and then black still is in the driver's seat, I think. White will have to play knight g3 or knight h4, like knight d3. Knight d3 seems bad because of bishop d4. So yeah, so it seems as if Jason just missed that there was queen h3 defending, that queen h3 was blocking the check and defending the knight.
Yeah, I mean,
all right, so
yeah, I mean, I think
yeah, that's
it was just an oopsie.
yeah. All right, so Robert somehow fight. Now, what's crazy, right, is this game, if it were played on some online server or some tournament, it'll enter into the databases showing that the position after the pawn has gotten to e5 and the other pawn is on c5 is winning by force for white, right?
Yeah, because it's the only one. Yeah.
So let's see what's happening here. Right, so
Yeah.
maybe we go to where should we go next?
Is any other games done? Any other games are done? No, I don't think so.
I think those are the three. So maybe we'll go in board order. So let's start at Nathan Hoover and Ethan Hunt. What are the standings for this round? Do you know?
Well, Nate, I know coming into this round is in clear first by a point. So Nate is at 3.5 out of 4, and I know Ethan, Kyler, Connor, and myself were all at 2.5 out of 4.
Mm-hmm.
I decided not to come because I wasn't feeling well. Decided to, I keep my sneezing during the broadcast. So,
yes.
and Nate, yeah, and so Nate basically just needs a draw in order to clinch first place. He's already clinched a tie for first.
Okay.
Yeah, Kyler versus Connor, whoever wins, or if it's a draw, then neither of them are going to be in the money. But if one of them wins and Ethan wins, then then that person will also join the tie for first.
Draw the tie. Okay. Well, let's see how this goes. So Nate Hoover is more or less a Tarrasch guy, right?
He plays everything under the sun. I mean, it's impossible.
He's a Tarrasch guy, except for when he's playing the Rogozin.
Well, he plays everything. I've played D4 against him numerous amount of times, and he's played. I don't think I've actually had a Tarrasch against him. I know he's played the Grunfeld against me. He's played Nimzo. He's played a King's Indian. He's played Slav. He's played everything, I think, except the Tarrasch against me so far. I don't think it's Tarrasch. Queen A4. Yeah, this is something that I face a lot. I used to be a Rogozin main. Like Rogozin was my main opening against the Queen's Gambit. If I didn't get into the Nimzo, Queen A4 just always annoyed me. This line, it was always. I never liked putting my knight on C6.
Mm-hmm.
Always felt misplaced, even though white, playing Queen A4 when the Queen doesn't really belong on A4, but especially because black usually will play Bishop D7 and make it move again, but usually the knight on C6 ends up being a liability. Although I don't think this line is as commonly played as it used to be.
Is the clock correct that Ethan is down to his last 20 seconds? I guess we'll get there soon enough. Yeah, okay. No, but I think the rationale is for white's Queen A4 might be that, his queen is misplaced. It'll take him one move to get to a better square. Meanwhile, it'll take black 2 moves to improve his knight on c6 and the pawn on c7, so that hopefully he comes out ahead in that transaction. But
E5.
E5.
And I'm already out of book here. I don't know.
E5 seems pretty interesting, to put it mildly. I don't know if it's been played before and how often. I mean, this position itself seems rather interesting on its own, but E5 is that. How is this?
Like,
If this works,
I don't know. From my experience playing this line as black, I
mhm.
always thought, black would take on c4 voluntarily, bishop c4, and then you drop the bishop back to d6 and then play e5. That's kind of
Mhm.
idea, but e5 right away, I don't honestly see. So there's the idea of c takes d5, then e takes d4.
Ah.
That must be the idea, because otherwise you're just, you know,
Mhm.
but otherwise you're just losing a pawn, right? Or, yeah,
Yeah, this seems like.
that might be the idea. But it
So
doesn't
how
hurt.
much time did? Oh, Ethan. Okay, so it had a desired result in that Ethan spent 22 minutes on this move, which is probably how he ended up being constantly behind on time. So
I
D
don't
takes,
just looking at
D
this.
takes.
Yeah, I don't think black should be unhappy with a d5. Like, this looks like it's going to lead to equality.
Yeah, yeah. Black is perfectly fine. In fact, black's the one ahead in development, and his king is already in a decent spot. Maybe queen b3 does something. Although it seems yeah, maybe queen b3. Okay, that's what Ethan plays.
Bishop e6. Okay, that solves his problems.
Yeah. Yeah, I think black has nothing to complain about in this position. So maybe the rook is a bit awkward over there, but it can most likely find work to do on the king side.
No, it's just, this looks like the position that you would get after you equalize out of the goes in 3-on-2.
Ah,
This is 4-on-3 structure. This is a
okay.
typical structure. I think you see it in these positions, but it usually doesn't come this early. So
Mhm.
I wonder if there was some inaccuracy from whites that's let black
Yeah, maybe we should go back.
equalize too easily.
So, at what position does it become unfamiliar to you? So bishop d7 is normal.
Uh, I mean, it honestly became unfamiliar after a3 bishop f8
Okay,
already.
so
Well, actually, no. I
here,
would say rook e8. I don't know. After rook
okay.
e8, I'm out of it. I'm just
So after
playing
bishop
forward
d2.
now.
Okay. So, and maybe um, this move was part of Nathan's secret sauce or something. Let me check the master database here.
See,
So actually, Rook E8 seems
I
like the
mean,
most common move. There are
yeah,
28 games in the master database,
shows I
and
don't.
then
I haven't played this in a long time.
A3. So we're still going with the most common moves of both. And I know Ethan is usually well prepared. So um, Bishop D3, and here only one game features E5, and that's a game between 2300 FIDE and a 2100 FIDE. So it's possible that Nathan out prepped him, might have seen this game and decided to do his own homework because this game came from the predecessor to this game was played in August of 2024. So it's a relatively new idea. And in the STEM game, Black had to deal with C takes D5 here.
Yeah, C takes D5 is honestly my first instinct. Although it's a
And,
good draw.
and I'm sure you can guess Black's response to that move.
Wow. Okay. Interesting. Wow.
Very. So then
Okay.
E takes D4 was played, and then E4.
Wow. Yeah. It's sometimes it's interesting to see games by players that are actually good at chess. I don't
I
know.
mean,
Would never.
this is just so the knight takes E4, bishop takes E4, and then F5. And the knight E5 was played, F takes E4, queen takes E4, and all of a sudden, Black has managed to ask White, where exactly are you going to put your king?
Hey, I'm just sorry. I'm just looking at the chat. I see had a couple people compliment my hat. So
Oh, yeah.
thank you to Michael and Jack for complimenting my hat to be in costume.
Nice.
But yeah, I see there's a result in this game, so maybe we'll look.
Oh, okay.
So they agreed to a draw.
Oh, they agreed to a draw. Okay. What is going on here? Oh, okay, so he's doing the same tactic. It would seem like okay, I'm not a huge fan, but I guess it works.
Oh,
Why that way?
good question.
Why that way? Oh, because he sees this tactic. So at the moment, Black is a pawn up, and he has, for the moment, more active pieces, and Queen E4 was looking more interesting to me. Queen E4 before playing Rook E3 with so okay, threatening checkmate, and if Rook plays something passive, now we're threatening to win pawn and checkmate, and there's no way for White to defend the H3 pawn at the moment. So
and then if like Queen G3, then Rook E3 for sure. Then that one's
yes,
okay.
Yeah, and then Rook E3, and now the question is this enough to save him? And I think after this, the answer is probably no. That White's in serious pins.
Do you dare to take an A7 here?
That is an interesting question. Let's see if we can answer that question. Take on A7. Queen takes. So Rook takes here. Takes here. Um, well, okay, maybe we just liquidate into an ending is one possibility, but let's see if there's anything more active. Rook. Is rook g3 working? I don't know. My tendency would probably be to play this. And although after this it's not trivial yet, so then rook takes, rook takes. Okay, now it's done. Yeah, this has to be easily winning. So all right. So rook e3 first was not. Yeah, I think using the reverse move order would have probably gotten better results. And now I guess there's not in that time trouble, but I suppose Ethan is playing quickly, and maybe Nathan is doing his normal simul thing. What? Am I missing something?
What happened? Wait,
It seems as if he blundered mate. Oh, he did blunder mate. I thought you said it was a draw.
Well, it was recorded as a draw earlier.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
Oh yeah, because when I looked at it, it was recorded as a draw.
Oh, okay. They probably put the kings in the center the wrong way or something. All right.
Oh, yeah, that's
wow. So Nathan Hoover like dominated this month.
I mean, he deserved to win that game. He was, equalized quickly out of the opening, and just had a slowly improved his position. Slowly, got a much better position, I think, and eventually forced his opponent into time pressure. And then,
I mean, not that he's selling it, but he's done a really good advertisement for the Rogozin with this game, for sure.
Yeah, no, he finished the tournament now with 4.5 out of 5. So
Wow.
definitely going to be a nice rating gain for Nate, plus the first place prize, which also doesn't hurt.
Yep, for sure. Well, that's a very impressive performance by Nate this month. Let's see. We also have a finish in the game between Sergei Rachmanov and Srijan. So let's see how that game went.
Yeah, this one also is recorded as a draw. Yeah, let's go through the game. Kiro. Exchange proper. I like to say.
Yeah. Okay, so now you're a Caro-Kann guy, so maybe you can guide us a little bit here.
I'm a Caro-Kann guy, but I've never had this position with either caller, so I'm just looking at it. I mean, G6. I've played this setup against Exchange before with the Fiend Cato as well. I'm not sure about B6 though, or what. I mean, I understand. So he's trying to. Is he going for like Bishop A6 or something? The problem is, I think that it's just easily preventable by Queen E2.
Mm-hmm.
And then what? I don't think you're going to play Knight B8 to play Bishop A6.
Probably not. And actually, if you play Knight B8, the E2 pawn falls, the E7 pawn falls too. So Rook E. So he responded to B6 with Rook here, and yeah, maybe Queen E2 right away, or even Bishop B5 might have been doable.
B5 is also an idea. Yeah, that might be even better. Yeah, Bishop B5 makes sense. Rook E1, and now, honestly,
There's an argument for taking the bishop back to c2, isn't there?
Yes, especially that you're already castled.
Mm-hmm. So the bishops were exchanged, and then queen here, and okay. So now we're starting the night march to somewhere. Let's see where that somewhere is. Bishop f4.
Now, this is a good time to throw out an advertisement for our training camp tomorrow. This is a Carlsbad structure, and we're having a training camp in the Carlsbad tomorrow. So if you want to learn more about structures like these, you should definitely go to the training camp tomorrow to learn more. Because even though this is not like a conventional Carlsbad, it's still a Carlsbad structure at the end of the day.
Yes, quite a good spot there.
Mm-hmm.
So now we have a position where white maybe has a bit of a space advantage. Black has a weakness on b5. His pawn on b6 isn't easily reachable, but is still a potential problem. And now they're exchanging off a bunch of pieces. And I don't know. Maybe black is able to get away with this. Weakening the e-pawn isn't as much of a problem if the pawn can't be attacked enough times. So here he goes back. I was looking at maybe knight bishop e7, but then okay, maybe that's not working. I was also looking at bishop a3 as a possibility, and I like bishop a3 because it carries with it the small threat of maybe considering queen takes b6, since the b pawn is defended.
No.
And then maybe following up with rook e2 and rook a e. But bishop g3 seems, at least he's trying to keep e5 from being a thing. So, and actually bishop g3 also has the advantage that it's covering the b8 square. So a rook can't even come to b8 to try and take the b2 pawn. So it seems like Sergei is doing pretty well here.
Yeah.
And actually, I think after something like queen, I don't know if queen d6 is working or not at some moment, like here. And so queen d6, oh, rook e8 is working. Or rook d8, I mean to say. And unfortunately, now that the pawn is on e5, rook b8 is a possibility, although he doesn't play it. Maybe because he doesn't want to give up a5. So queen goes back. And they go for an exchange. Sergei goes for an exchange, which seems a bit risky to me. Especially after rook d5, though.
Yeah, this looks like I don't know.
Oh, that wasn't necessary, but okay. Actually, maybe it's okay because he's still going to be 2 pawns up.
Looks winning to me.
Yeah, it looks completely winning.
How did this end in a draw?
Maybe it's another situation that they misreported. Yeah, it's 3 pawns up. So, although there was some infamous game back in it was the late 80s into the early 90s, as Nigel Short was coming up the ladder, and I think he found himself in some rook and pawn ending, 2 pawns up, and couldn't win. And some Soviet GMs at the time were making fun of him that maybe if they gave him an extra pawn or 2 more, he might be able to find the win. So, who knows? But yeah, this one should be under control. Let's see. Not necessary, but okay. So far, so okay. So now I'd suggest he go to either G4 or B4 to get some checking distance. On G4, he doesn't really care about checking distance because he can check on G5 anyway, and this way he can start pushing that king back.
I wonder if can we go back one move? Yeah, after. So when the king was on E5, and well, so the rook was on
E5, you mean,
F4.
or
No, like the rook was on F4 already. So H4
on
was
F4?
played. Well,
Okay, so let's
H4
go
was
back.
already played.
Okay, so here, there. Okay, and then here.
Yeah. So I wonder if it would make any sense here to play like rook D4
Yes.
and then try to bring your king around on the second. I know you might have to give up a pawn, but just for an example, like to play rook D4, king C2, king A2 check, king B3. Like, just wonder if
So like rook here.
maybe don't play king
So
C2. I want to lose that pawn, but like, okay, so after
there's no hurry, right? You can always bring those pawns up first before you start the king maneuver.
Yeah.
So I mean, if black plays something like this, then we can go here, and the king. Or we could even just maybe even play here. But okay, so F4. If F4 is played, F4 check, and then king here, and then maybe even G3. And it's not clear because if black makes the error of playing here, then I think this check can be problematic. And at this point, we don't care what happens to the kingside pawns because the queens now both black pieces are off sides. So yeah, that seems like a plan. And the idea with rook d4, of course, is to ice the black king away from the queen side, right?
Yes, I just thought that might be an easier. Yeah. Then bring the king into the queen side eventually, and if at some point if you need to give back a pawn on the on the king side, I thought that by the time you take the pawn, you'll get A5 in, and then you won't be able to bring the rook back in time before rook A4, and then
exactly
behind the pawn. And I thought
in fact, yes, in this position to illustrate that plan. So like here, and if he plays here, I guess that's where the question comes: do we even allow him to take the F pawn? Because now now we can immediately get over to the queen side while icing his king out. So I don't know if this is along the same path of what you're describing.
Yeah, no, this makes sense. King b3, rook b4, it's coming.
Yeah,
Or king b5, rook b4, I mean.
yeah.
Okay, so
And yeah, many ways to get this done. Sergey's being a bit tentative here, which is fine. There's no reason to rush. You're 3 pawns up. At the end of the day, if you convert this in 10 moves or 50 moves, it's still 1-0. Just 1 point you get for it. So take the time to not let the opponent back into the game. And so here, so that may not have been necessary, but okay, this is not bad either. And again, I'm having difficulty figuring out how Black managed to draw this.
I have no idea. That's a good question.
So
Yeah, because like if I was in this position against a master, I'd probably consider resigning because it's like
this is so
yeah,
actually in this position, I think even if Black were if White were to just to play here, right, just let him take everything on the king side, this is simply winning. Or maybe even king up first. The important thing being that with this rook here controlling this line, this guy is never going to be part of the discussion, at least not for several moves, by which time White should have an extra queen on the board. So, well, let's see what happened.
Wow. Yeah,
So
very
here,
curious to see the end of this game because what's it may oh
oh,
wait.
that's what happened.
What?
He gave up the pawn. The pride and joy of his position. Oh no. So what happened was this happened, capture there, and then Sergey. And what's the time situation here? I guess Sergey must have really been low on time.
9 minutes.
Well, 9 minutes. This is not some time to think about this, because the one thing you don't want to do is move. I mean, you want to move forward with your king, but you never want to lose contact with the pawn. And so even something like using the king, if it was a different kind of endgame, you might want to use your king to box out his king by taking opposition. But here, it's even better to move further away from the king, and then so here I think just forgot that he'd be leaving his pawn behind, and now I think it's most likely drawn. I can't see a way for White to force a win now. Yeah, and now the pawn's going to be taken after rook f1, rook f4. So, oh, that was a, and after Sergey had worked so hard on that game, and then, but it's a lesson I'm sure he'll learn from in the future.
Yeah, just a one-move blunder, basically. It's unfortunate.
Yes, hours of fine play spoiled by one move. Let's see what's happening here. So we have Connor versus Kyler. Kyler is on a roll, just coming back from a successful campaign in Chicago. So let's see. Kyler plays the French.
See, this is what I was expecting against him last week, because I think he's a French player. Like, I think he usually plays the French.
Yeah.
When he played Brazilian, I was like, okay. I expected him to play something unusual because I think he likes to experiment now. But okay, this is very unusual from the white side.
Mm-hmm.
Bishop d3, d4. Okay, so now that bad bishop is a good bishop.
Yep. The bad bishop is probably the best minor piece on the board right now. So,
And that just blunders a pawn in one move. Queen a5. Yeah.
oh man, so this is actually pretty interesting. So d4, was there a way to protect against the loss of the g pawn? I mean, d4, I think a pawn is probably going either way. Well, maybe he castles. Yeah, maybe he just has to castle. But then even after that,
Yeah.
queen d5 and the pawn's gone. So is it possible that after bishop d3, white is already down a pawn after
Yeah.
d4?
I guess you can just trying to see if there's anything you can do here. I don't know. Like even queen g4 doesn't work because you can still play queen d5.
Yeah.
Nothing really that I see, unless you want to play bishop f1.
Well, I suppose. But then that still is queen a5.
Then, well, yeah. I mean, there's not much. I guess that the obscure way that the opening went from the white side maybe was just no good.
Yeah. I mean, so normally in this position, um, if white is intent on sacking the d4 pawn like this, I think they usually go bishop d3 here,
Yeah, that's
and then allow cd4, and then go for quick development and overprotecting e5. I think is a usual recipe.
never
Um,
in the advanced French.
huh?
But never play bishop b5 in the advanced French.
Yes. well,
No,
we'll make.
I don't know. It's just I think there are only like specific times when a bishop e5 is the right move. Like you never want to trade this bishop for this knight and then help black develop his dark square bishop to either a6 or get the whole center with c takes d4 and then c5. He has to move back anyways.
Exactly, at the end of the day, and maybe he had to exchange off the bishops, but then that would have probably felt distasteful to him. That why am I exchanging off black's quote unquote bad bishop, except for that the bishop ends up being, as we mentioned, the best minor piece on the board after d4 happens. So okay, let's see how Connor fought.
Yeah.
Okay, getting pieces out. Yeah, and to borrow a quip, black has compensation for his extra pawn.
Yeah, so that's to say that the material advantage and the positional advantage.
Yes.
That bishop on c6, that's I would argue that it's just as good as the bishop on d3, if not better, because it's
Yes,
actually targeting a weakness.
exactly. And isn't blocking any of black's pieces either. So it's Kyler's just playing nice and patiently, improving his pieces, improving his position. I thought there might be an argument at some point for bishop f4, but I think e5 might have worked at that time because rook e8 had happened. So, and now black is, oh, this is not looking nice for white at all. E4 is coming. The king is exposed. The g3 pawn, well, the g3 square was weak, and now there's a pawn on that square, which is probably going to suffer as well.
Yeah, this doesn't look good.
No. Wait a second. Is the bishop even... So knight takes...
Took the bishop, knight takes...
And bishop back. And now the pawn on f3 is gone. Okay, I guess he has a pawn on d4, but still. This is... Oh, man.
So, yeah, this is what I call the snowplow. It's like when you see like a snowplow just pushes everything forward. It just does this. Just pushes you backwards until the snow has been pushed off the edge of the earth.
Yes.
and yeah, he's just pushing everything forward. Took an f3 for good measure to get to get that four square.
Yeah, this is harsh. So bishop, so oh, where's the king going? So he has to exchange off.
That's not nice.
And then this is an important tip. I mean, yeah, he could have taken on e3 right away, but why do so when the queen isn't running away?
Right.
And instead, he can do something useful while the opponent has to look for a good move. Which, by the way, the rook on d2 doesn't have much to offer. The rook on e1 doesn't have much to offer. So Kyler is saying, let Connor stew in his juices for a moment while I get my pieces ready for the final attack. Would you like to exchange? And it just so happens that bishop c4 isn't working, either now or later, because of the rook on c8. So Connor tries to wiggle out with queen d4, get something active.
Yeah, it's hard. The king is so weak.
And so, again, just gradually improving the position and letting Connor know he's helpless. Queen bishop, he can't capture the pawn on b5 because of queen g2. And now rook d1, trying to get something active. h6, no back rank mates or anything for you. Rook d2, queen c6, queen e5. Exchange off the rooks, and slowly but surely, white is going to run out of material for a counterattack. Exchange off. And typically, Connor plays till mate, so we'll see what sort of resistance he tried to put forward here. Brutal.
Yeah, this is pretty mean. Bishop on h3 doesn't look like it's participating in the game.
No. And every single one of
Oh well, now okay.
yes,
I
now
think
there's
that was probably his way of resigning,
yes,
allowing the bishop trade to.
yes, I think so. Although, did he have any other moves? He might have been in Zugzwang at that moment. Actually, he is in Zugzwang.
But playing bishop f1, I mean,
What's he going to play? Outside of bishop f1. So queen takes e3. That's obviously losing.
yeah,
So the only pawn that can move is the b pawn. So he actually didn't have. I mean, besides resigning, um,
yeah, maybe that's his only move. Well, bishop f1. Yeah,
so all right, that's a very very. I don't know if I'd call it smooth. Yeah, smoothish sounds very well controlled game by Eilers after
I think
winning
it
the
was first
pawn
black, right?
and then consolidating and then moving forward with his advantage. So let's see, we still have um, Jacob and Jeremy playing. So let's
Between Daryl
reach.
and Corey as well, right?
Huh?
So it looks like there was a result in the Daryl and Terry game.
Oh yeah, we did. We haven't gone back to that, so we should go back to that. Well, this is almost theory completion. Let's quickly. Well, okay, no, we'll look
Okay.
here. This was the end game, the exchange up end game, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So
looks like Daryl found a way to pick up the win.
yeah. So what happened was we left as we started talking about the Chicago Open results. Terry played H4, which then allowed Daryl was alert and noticed that this won a pawn. So all of a sudden, if Terry had been able to hold on to the H5 pawn, maybe his chances would have been better. But now after this, he loses that pawn and now doesn't have an automatic pass pawn. So he's back to the sad situation of being exchanged down for almost no compensation. I would think so. You don't want to allow your pawns to be blocked, and in this kind of position, and also because the opponent's bishop is on a dark square, I would think that if you're going to move either of the pawns, a4 seems to make the most sense. And part of it is if we start from here, one of the goals in the endgame is to create a pass pawn, which you can then promote to a queen. And the best way for white to create a pass pawn in this position, or the easiest, I should say, is if you can do this, do that, and do that. And oftentimes, it's good to start with the pawn that is a candidate to become a pass pawn. But in this specific position also, by playing before, it allows black to play b5 and slow things down a little bit. Anyhow, well, actually, maybe b5 isn't even working. This is funny. So b5 may not be working because this is winning a pawn already. So forget all that nonsense theory I just spoke, because after this, it's just winning a pawn. If black tries bishop f6 so it can target this guy, then we play check. And if he goes for this, then he loses the piece immediately with rook takes. So then, and if he plays c6 to get the rook away from d5, then rook b7, and yeah, white has the time to defend his pawn, or if he tries to counterattack, get this one. So, all right. So b5. So b4 is not as bad really.
No, it's one of those. It's only a matter of time positions. Just have to
Yes.
slowly try to get him in zugzwang.
And so Daryl's creating his pass pawn, and
Maybe he won't even need to get him in zugzwang.
yeah. Now I don't know that I would have left the F pawn go just that easily. But maybe Daryl has a plan. Maybe he wants to use the tempo to get his king to c6 and help get his pawn promoted, but also maybe create mating threats. Okay, I suppose he feels he needs to go back to grab one of the pawns. And here, let's see, I'm not even sure if it still works though. So if you try to go with this, black can play here. If you try this, then here, and this, and here, and all of a sudden it's a game again. So Daryl figured he should bring his king back to help defend against those pawns rushing down, which is part of the reason why I don't think leaving the F pawn was a great idea. Again, you don't want to give your opponent unnecessary chances. And if he just plays F3, even if he's able to play G4 to create a pass pawn, it's only one single isolated pass pawn, which is easier to deal with than connected pass pawns. So we go here. But fortunately, his king is able to come in just in time. And now he can get the F pawn and later the G pawn.
Yeah.
Oh, he gets the G pawn right away. And gets to defend his pawn. So now I guess the result is no longer in doubt.
Yeah. Let's say that's all she wrote.
Yeah, and that's kind of cute. He can't take the pawn because of checkmate.
Oh, yeah.
G5, there, right there.
Yeah, very nice tactical find by Daryl.
Yeah. And here, H that works. Actually, everything works. Well, most everything works here. And Terry's trying for maybe stalemate, which would happen if. Wait a second.
Huh?
Oh, yes. So he plays here and then resigns. Of course, the logical conclusion would be bishop takes, and then this is the only move, and then this guy goes to promotion. So that was so Daryl, our featured player, played a nice game today, and got the W. It seems like Jeremy and Jacob drew. So let's see how that game went.
At least looking back to Daryl's history that I read off earlier, I think this might be the highest rated player that he's beaten. Terry Humphreys is 1700. So, yeah.
Congratulations to Daryl! Wow, this is a major upset. Whoa!
Very nice. And I think so. Daryl's current rating going into this tournament, he's just over 1100 right now. So, I wouldn't be surprised if he gains over 100 rating points in this tournament. It's over 1200 now, which is excellent for him. Lessons are paying off. The studying is paying off.
Yeah, I mean, talk about positive feedback. This is pretty nice. Oh, let's see. Jacob, Jacob played in Chicago too, I believe. I'm sure. I haven't looked at the cross table Seriously, but he has also been working on his game and improving. Let me see. We got into a symmetrical English, which
we had a
this
chance.
setup turns, huh?
Sorry. We had a chance to see the mighty Beefeater defense.
Oh yeah, with D5, right?
Or the Jinji Indian, or
The Jinji
I mean,
Indian, yes.
when I play the modern quite a bit, and then I like if I ever get in this position where white plays knight c3, I always play c5.
Ah,
Like if
hoping
I
for the
get
chance
this
to.
d5, bishop c3, bc3, f5. It just looks so ridiculous, but it's not so bad.
So like in this position here.
This f5. It looks ridiculous, but like it's
It does
addicting.
seem pretty annoying.
It's addicting. And just because my results with it are just so good over the board, I keep playing it. But the problem is, it's unusual that you'll get it because nobody plays knight c3 anymore. Probably because they're afraid of bishop
Yes.
c3 f5. But yeah, usually you just e4 in these positions.
Okay.
And he just
And actually,
allows this, C takes.
Jeremy didn't want to have to deal with that
Yeah.
at all, and so plays knight f3.
I wonder.
And I wonder if he had played knight c6 now, but then that allows d5. And so, and then the knight has to figure out what it wants to do. Then it could go to d. So say knight c6 here, here and here. I guess it's a different kind of game.
Here.
But now it looks as if we might be heading towards like a Maroczy bind type position.
Yeah, and you would love to play e4 in this position, but unfortunately that hangs a horse.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing about these Jinji positions now that you don't have a knight in f6. I wonder if like knight c2 was an idea to play e4.
Yeah, so knight c2 is interesting. And in fact, I think I have played knight c2 in the Maroczy proper, where there's knight f6, but then the knight comes back to d7. You play knight c2, you come back, and black is always potentially threatening bishop takes c3, and you can get those annoying double pawns on the c file. But then white can hopefully get some active play. In this case, cleverly leaving the knight on g8 reduces white's options. I think white, in being that white played knight f3 to avoid allowing this, it seems unlikely that he'd want to play knight c2. But okay, white gets a decent enough position here.
Yeah.
It's nothing special, but it's not. He's not worse.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think black should be unhappy here.
Yeah, I think black should be. Both players don't have much to complain about here, I think. But of course, the player of the white pieces might not be happy that they don't have any kind of advantage.
Well, got e4.
Interesting.
I don't know if that helped him though, this position, because now it's kind of locked in his bishop, and now he can trade it if he wants to. Yeah, probably that's not a bad trade for him because I think white square bishop was worse.
Mm-hmm.
Now they can play d4.
Yes, for sure. Oh, okay. Everyone's being kind of clever here. So queen e2, queen c2 allows knight takes e4, whereupon knight takes c4, whereupon there's a nasty surprise waiting for black. And he loses a piece, it appears. So
Mhm.
But black had other plans. He wants to take advantage of the d4 pawn, the d4 square, sorry. Which is interesting. So I have been concerned about putting the queen on that file because of ideas like b4. If queen a7, maybe queen a7 might have made a bit more sense. And now if b4, now we can play e6, and white loses a pawn, it looks like. So, or at least doesn't get the position they were wanting. So, yeah, maybe queen a7. But okay, this isn't bad. The knight's getting active. He eventually goes to e7. Oh, sorry, a7. And now the position is becoming officially weird. Okay. So it appears at this point black has outplayed white. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think that Black's knight on d4 is so I like to say it's cemented on d4, and
Yes.
it's going to be hard to uncement it from that square. And
So,
it's just it looks like that knight is controlling a lot of key squares that White's queen might want to go to at some point. I guess you can play knight e2 to challenge it, but then maybe play e5 and
exactly.
make it.
Although playing e5 does give up the d5 square, so maybe black might think twice about playing that.
Yeah, no, that's true as well. Yeah, maybe
Because
we're just
then white will have just as good of a square.
wait
But
till that takes and then play e5. Yeah.
what? Remember earlier we were looking at a game where you quipped that isn't the bishop better than? Oh, I think it was a different game actually. But yeah, this knight is just pretty awesome. And yeah, maybe white needs to consider finding a way to exchange it off. But he plays an interesting move with bishop f4, trying to convince black to either exchange or give up the b file or give up the d5 square. And white decides to exchange and then brings his rook to the d file. And that seems dangerous to me.
Yeah. Queen g3. Yes.
Um,
All it takes is one, missed tactic to boot that knight from c3 or something. I don't know. Maybe
yeah,
that's not there concretely, but it is a little scary to,
leave that possibility.
Yeah, the
But
pieces just aren't coordinated. But now e5 interesting because that pawn looks like it's hanging initially. But
yeah, it does look like it's hanging. I'm wondering how this is working.
I
So if bishop takes, okay, fortunately they allowed
what's
us to.
what
Oh,
point of that?
he just gave up a pawn, it
Yeah,
appears.
I don't know. Was it just a blunder or some clever trick that Jacob is going to show us?
I don't know. It looks as if it might have just been a blunder because maybe he just assumed the pawn was well covered. Because I don't see how you couldn't do queen. What's the difference between this and playing queen d7 immediately instead of allowing the pawn to go? So if playing queen d7 here right away, um,
That's true. That e6 pawn wasn't really harming black's position.
Exactly. In fact, it was keeping the bishop on g7 more relevant.
And yeah, keeping the
So,
knight on d5. Yeah.
so we'll see. Okay, so he definitely did not intend to get into this position, is my thinking. Maybe rook a7 or rook h7 might have been. In fact, even in this position, I was thinking it might have made some sense to play f4 here, and then maybe rook b6, or rook b6 immediately, and then knight takes f6. But in any case, it's still difficult for Jacob. So let's see how he managed to draw this. So White's 2 pawns up, and and now is trying to be tricky with rook d4, which Jacob correctly escapes. So I guess as the time is coming down, Jeremy's play has been a little bit shaky. Huh. There's a mating net appearing. The question is, can she draw the net? So up there, capture there, rook there, sorry, king there. And is king f6? Is that working?
Sorry, I forgot I was muted. King f6. So is the idea play knight e3 to f5? Or?
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, I suppose I'm kind of leery about playing king f5, only because that might allow some stupid tactic with rook a5,
which actually wins for black, I think.
Yeah.
Draws. Actually, I don't even think it's winning. Probably.
Yeah, it's probably drawn.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. Say White plays something ridiculous like. Well, actually, how does he play this? It doesn't lose material. So maybe playing here and then rook takes.
Allow the fork. Yeah.
Allow the fork and then go here. and then
And
go
argue
here.
that it's hard to win this with the black pieces.
How about maybe it might even be winning for white still?
Oh, you're trapped. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you were trapped.
Oh man! So actually, maybe
Wait,
Black is
wait.
going to get to G3 early enough though. So let's see if he starts running up the board, like here and here and here. I think he might just be a move behind. Now, could he go around the pawn? If he goes here, he's losing.
I wonder, was
Well, maybe
H?
he's not. Maybe he's not losing. So here, yeah, goes here,
You
then
can just
here,
right?
and now he's losing.
Yeah. Do you have to play H5? I wonder in that position.
Yeah, so maybe he doesn't have to play H5. Maybe he just goes. But if he doesn't play H5,
I'm just looking H4. Oh, you just take an H. You can just take the pawn then.
exactly. That's
Okay,
that's
well,
the problem.
huh? Oh.
So, but that's funny though. I can imagine myself as white. In fact, I already said it. Oh, I can't do this. I don't want to deal with that tactic, and then not bother to calculate all the way, which is, yeah, he takes that. You go here, and it just so happens because of his kings, because of the black king's position, all of a sudden the knight has no escape, and white. So, if I was a better player, I would set a trap like that for my opponent, right? On the black, my opponent playing black, say, "Oh yeah, oh my God, I just left this tactic going for you," and then managed to do this. But okay, let's see how the game actually went. King d6 there, and here. Okay, the positions.
Yeah, I don't know. G4.
Yeah, at this point, I think it's probably drawn.
Yeah, because I thought that F5 pawn might be a weakness at some point. So I don't
Yeah,
know trading it off.
yeah, I think the king should probably move back towards the king side.
The king went the wrong way for sure. It's
Yeah,
not have went
yeah,
to the queen side, and G4 just basically liquidates your only winning chance.
exactly. I mean, it's one of those rules that actually is good to heed, which is in endings, the person who's ahead should probably avoid exchanging pawns unless it's going to give a definite winning advantage. Maybe there's an argument for knight f5 here, but I don't know that that's doing enough. I mean, if it's still not working because even if black fell for it with this and this, after this, there's no saving the pawn, and then it would be
Then it's
that it's most likely drawn, but now black is the one kind of in the driver's seat. So
yeah, that's something that unfortunately I've done a lot of my own games.
oh
Go for oh, wait a minute, is this? I think this works, and then you calculate every move except for the one move that refutes your ideas.
of
And then,
course.
that's the one move I didn't look at. Is the one that just refutes everything that you looked at.
Exactly. Yep, been there, done that.
And it's usually like simple too. It's like one of the more simple moves. Oh, just
This
attack
is
the
actually
pawn.
not trivial, huh?
It's usually one of those moves. Just attack the pawn. Just play. Yeah, just and
Yes.
there's no way to defend it.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
and it's important that well, they agree to draw here. Obviously, if Black was forced to play, then he plays King f7, gaining the opposition, and White can't make any progress. All right, I think we've covered all the games.
Yeah, looks like
Well, oh, there are these games in the lower section that suddenly appeared.
oh, there's
Are they real games? No, they're not real games.
yeah.
Maybe this is a real game,
I didn't
but it doesn't have a result.
Thad versus Norm. Yeah, I didn't see this game earlier. Must have just been implanted.
Yeah, I think it was just implanted. All right, maybe we'll. It's getting a bit late. We might. Okay, we'll just do it quickly. But I don't even know if this is an actual game. Wait a second.
I think it is because Norm and Thad were supposed. Well, Norm wasn't supposed to play, but then I said I'm not playing, so then Norm I think it was
Okay.
and Thad is playing in the premiere section this month. So I think that this is the correct game.
Okay. Wait a second. This looks like a game we looked at earlier. Yeah. Oh, yeah. This is a game we looked at. This is Roger's game with
Yeah,
Mitch. Okay, so this is the actual game. So, oh, Norm is playing his normal Stonewall type thing.
Stonewall without the light square bishop.
Yes. And so far, okay, Black's position. Both players have solid positions at the moment.
Definitely, honestly, I would prefer Black just because Black has the better bishop. You know, a Stonewall without the light square bishop is like, it's not a stone wall, it's just a stone fence. It's not it's not the same.
Nice. Yeah. Black is definitely for choice, in my opinion. In this position. Of course, White needs to still be careful that it doesn't get mated on the G file. But I think at this point, White's pawns are broken and they can be easily targeted. So, and now he has his rook on the 7th. So it looks like all the ingredients to a good result. Queen b5, defending the rook. H3. Now prepared to exchange off rooks. I think maybe Thad could have considered instead of exchanging off those rooks, maybe bring this rook into the game and then come down here.
Yeah, no, that's
As a possibility.
look pretty annoying, I think, for White.
Yep.
And now White is, I think, just trying to hold on to all their stuff.
Yep.
And now, I definitely think Black should swing a rook over the A file and try to land a rook on A2. Well, now, not anymore, but.
Yes. But this position is still very.
It's not.
Not pleasant. Now, what's going on with rook with king h5 here? Why can't that be played? Just to win one of the pawns, and no, well, maybe he plays his rook here. That's what he's concerned about, so that he can't.
King h5, yeah.
But okay. Bishop f6. He still goes there. Oh, that's the idea. Okay. Actually, yeah, maybe this is a cleaner way of doing it, but it seems nice. Except for, so it's interesting. Everything is set up so that the bishop can take the pawn. The question now comes, is the king in danger on h5? I mean, fortunately, as we noted earlier in the game, white doesn't have a light squared bishop, so at least he doesn't have to worry about a bishop check mating him. But still, it seems difficult to see how the black king gets into the game unless you can get king h4 and king h3 to work.
So what happened here? How did? Oh, he didn't trade.
No, he didn't trade.
Okay.
Ah, clever. So Norm gets his king to help in the defense of the. Oh, wait a second. Now he can play bishop a5, right? What? Let's see.
Yeah.
Bishop a5.
Mm.
Although, wait. Bishop a5 isn't doing anything.
He's still defending.
Yeah, it's still defending. So the rook probably should find a more active post than c2. If you're not going to be able to take the c3 pawn, maybe the rook should go here, somewhere over this way. Maybe another plan is to leave the rook where it is and prepare f6, e5. Slowly but surely, it doesn't have to happen right away. Maybe bring the king all the way around to this side of the board, understanding that white is in no power to do anything major.
Yeah,
now there are too many arrows.
You can just teleport the king from h5 to c4. Be happy.
Yes, which I think can happen actually. So if the king, if you can get this guy over here, which keeps this king from being able to get in through the king side, and then maybe don't even push f6, just and then after you complete that trek, then you bring the bishop back to a5 to capture on c3. Maybe you bring the bishop here and here, and yeah, it'll take a long time, but it seems as if black might be able to convert it that way. Anyhow, okay, that is working on that plan, except for somehow Norm was able to get his king to d3. So now what? And so this is where the moves end. This is not a drawn position, so I don't know exactly what happened. Yeah,
that's a draw agreed.
Not sure. It doesn't say, but well, we'll assume for the purposes of the broadcast that the draw was agreed, and
let me see.
and Yeah, see if we have any intel on the ground.
I'm just gonna check the website here because sometimes that's a better resource of accurate results.
Hmm.
So the last move, Rook G2.
Yep.
Yeah, there's
Rook
no.
G2, the
I,
bishop H4, then F6.
I don't see any times. I mean, it's possible they agree to a draw here, but
Okay.
not seeing any ways to. I just saw a move played, Bishop F2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're still playing.
Oh, so it's possible. Yeah, I see it now. Bishop F2, and so it's possible that someone is entering the moves by hand.
Yeah, it's unlikely that they're still playing.
Yeah.
I doubt it.
All right. Well, we'll catch up on this one next time. Oh, there's still moves coming through.
Yeah, maybe it's just being entered manually.
Mm-hmm.
I have a very hard time believing that this game is still going at
Yes.
11:17 p.m.
That would be real dedication.
Especially knowing how some of these players spend their time. Time. Oh yeah, Norm does like to take his time, but
Mm-hmm.
usually games don't. His games do not go that long, even when that happens, because
Okay.
I think Thad does not always spend all his time though. They
So
just double check if there are any other moves. Okay, so the last move now was Rook A3. I don't know. Yeah, it looks like the moves are just being entered manually. That's because they're just being played instantly. Like after, oh no, they're just playing instantly. Rook A3, King C2, Bishop
yeah,
D6.
it seems like yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. There is a threat in this position, but I don't know if it's a really good threat.
Rook D3.
Uh,
And now it's just back to that position again.
okay. All right. So yeah, let's leave this mystery for another day and maybe sign off for the night.
Okay.
All right.